Welcome back to the Seraphine podcast, my YouTube channel. I am Seraphine Arocha, and I am with my elf and partner in crime on this holiday season, Chelsea Attia. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'm like in such a great Christmassy mood right now.
I know, it's finally Christmas season. Like we're done with Thanksgiving. Now it's like this time period goes by like this. Like
it went by in a snap.
Yeah.
So to get into the Christmas season, we decided to watch the movies made by the Christmas queen herself, Candace Cameron Bure. We watched 3 of them this weekend. Oh my God. Yes. I feel like I know Candace now.
I know. And I know why she is the queen of Christmas, because she's just so wholesome. She's a great actress. Like for these kind of films, I've seen some other Lifetime films and the acting is like mediocre at best, but she just really like embodies the Hallmark film.
Because she's sincere. You can totally tell she loves Christmas.
Yeah.
She loves family. And the movies we watched were A Christmas Contest, which is her latest one on the Hallmark Channel, A Shoe Addict's Christmas.
My personal favorite.
And If I Only Had Christmas, which was my personal favorite. So we want to start out first, not just by dissecting the movies, because these are all worth a watch. They really are.
They are.
We're going to give you like a general idea about the themes of each of them, but I'd really want to dive in about why we go to Hallmark, why we watch these movies that seem to have similar themes,
right?
And why they put a freaking smile on my face.
I know. They all follow a very specific formula.
Yes.
I mean, it's basically outlined by our scorecard. If you haven't started playing it, make sure you do that.
Definitely.
They all, it's like you already know what you're going to get. So it is kind of thought-provoking. Like, why would we decide to spend 2 hours to watch like basically the same movie? But there's like every movie makes you feel different and happy, and it really is like Saturday morning. This is how I watched A Shoe Addict's Christmas. Saturday morning, wrapped in my blanket, drinking my coffee, and it was just like, oh, like this is just bliss right here.
This is it. So let's start out with the one that you liked. So we're going to begin with A Shoe Addict's Christmas.
Yeah.
So when I first saw this title, I was a little bit like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to feel about this.
I thought the same thing.
It was so bizarre how it read, because I initially thought Carrie Bradshaw.
Yeah, and I could see that.
And it really isn't. It was such a lovely story. So Chelsea, I'm going to have you take away the main.
Yeah, I'll just give you a brief synopsis. Basically, this woman, she is working in a department store, doing HR, so she's not in like the creative realm. And we come to find out, like her ex, she finds out he is getting engaged to someone else. She's kind of feeling down, and she kind of got stuck in a funk. So this was supposed to be a temporary job, but she ends up staying there for years, and her big passion is photography. So her friends, and she kind of lost that passion with like the breakup and everything. And with, I think her mom passed away. So I think she just had a lot of hard times that she was still kind of recovering from. So basically she gets like her fairy godmother, who's like kind of looks like Mrs. Claus a little bit. And every time she tries on this pair of shoes, a different pair every time, it takes her to what life could be like if she had just followed a different direction, which that idea in and of itself just fascinates me, because I think about this all the time. I'm like, how crazy is it, like the different paths you take and how your life turns out? Like one different change, small, your life could turn out totally different. I mean, the way I met my husband is kind of like what makes me think of that. So anyways, I love that concept and that idea, and that's not what I expected from this film. So she ends up thinking that her life is going to turn out a different way, and then you're surprised at the end. I get goosebumps thinking about it, because she just like, she gets everything she wants.
Totally. And what I loved about this too is they do these sweet little things in Hallmark movies that, again, they're wholesome.
Yeah.
They are sweet. Like, for instance, her name is Noelle.
Right.
The love interest, any girl would love a firefighter.
Yeah.
I love that they have I do love the fact that these movies in particular, especially the shoe addict, and the one we just watched, the Christmas contest.
Yeah.
I appreciate they address the theme of people passing during the holidays.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to believe that every Hallmark film is just about, well, the girl finds the meaning in Christmas through her family and an ex. And actually, they did a great job in these films about addressing loss and about how it changes the way you feel about the holidays and about kind of getting your mojo back and your light back. And that's what I loved about this particular movie. Now, they did have some of our scorecard right off the bat. This one, actually, I didn't remember. Was this in a particular town? Do you remember?
It was in Chicago. Because the opening scene was Chicago, Michigan Avenue, or I think it's called Wacker. It's like the main river that runs through it.
Which makes sense with the firemen, because when I think of firemen, I think of Chicago firemen.
Yeah.
I think that it definitely had the corporate entity trying to crush Christmas.
It did. Who was the owner of Fulton's, the department store, the lady that owns it, and Alex, her son.
And I loved the part about kind of going back to listening to your inner self, like your heart and her photography. I love the tie-in. So in the very beginning of the film, I had no idea what they were going to do with this, but Noelle's told to go back into some boxes in the storeroom, and she comes across a picture of this woman by the end of the film that turns out to be a photograph that she actually took.
Right.
And it's just this like little stirring of the pot of remembering the things that made you who you are.
Exactly.
And not to lose yourself.
Well, and that's kind of what I was thinking about this movie in particular. It's like, as in life, I feel like there's a lot of pressure that there's just like a time clock. And yes, there is. Time is always fleeting. But it just is a reminder that no matter how long it's been, you still have time to to reignite your passions and fall in love with life again and take a different path. It's never too late to change paths and come up with your happy ending. I feel like a lot of people get stuck because they think it's too late or whatever, the ship has sailed, but it really hasn't.
And the other thing I love about Hallmark, and it does make me choke up, is this idea of we have to do these grandiose, amazing things to make a difference in the world. And sometimes it's the more subtle things, and the things that are maybe not seen by everyone, or the things that speak to your heart, the sincere gestures that you convey, instead of, landing the big account or being the star of some, major event. I love I love the feeling of the subtleties in life. These are like small victories, and don't forget that is what makes life great.
I almost think those are the more special accounts, because it's like when no one's around, when no one knows, that's the magic.
This particular movie is a great one for a drinking game. Not to take away the sincerity of Hallmark, but every time she puts on a new pair of shoes, you need to drink. There are so many new dress. There are so many outfit changes in this. I
loved it.
Oh my God, I had so much fun.
It was like Carrie Bradshaw meets Hallmark.
It was. My family so I watched it with my mom, my dad, and my 4 sisters and my brother-in-law. And
fun.
let me tell you, it was so funny because we were just having the time of our lives going, is she a Christmas angel, Jean Smart from Designing Women, or is she a, Mrs. Claus? We were having such a good time just talking about the wholesomeness of it, and also kind of making fun of maybe some of the shoes we didn't like or some of the outfits. But all in all, I have to say this was a really good one, and I loved the chemistry between the two.
There was a lot of chemistry with them. I liked it.
It was a really good one.
I enjoyed it.
They were definitely up there. I have to say though, my personal favorite as we move on is why I'm wearing my Kansas City Chiefs sweatshirt. It is called If I Only Had Christmas. And at first it was a hard one for me to wrap around why they called it this.
Yeah.
It's If I Only Had a Brain.
Yeah.
Because this whole whole movie is themed off of The Wizard of Oz. What was so cute about this is, number one, she's basically in Kansas City. She is a PR person. She's up for an award for this Kansas City medical startup. She loses the award. She feels crushed because she chose to stay in Kansas City and not go to the big city out east, to be in PR. And boy, I feel like such a nerd saying this, but moving back from New York to Kansas City, there was a massive part of me that was like, I'm going home.
I felt the same way.
And there was the sweetest line in this about her saying that, like, she was grown here, like her roots here, that she's not stuck here. And that she's like listening to coming back to where she like basically blossomed.
Right.
And again, these are very sweet, beautiful themes that are very simple, but they're ones that I think during the holidays we need to be reminded of.
Totally.
Because we are all, where are we at? We're at parties with people. People are trying to give their best life with, look at me in the holidays.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And you know what? Sometimes, coming home and being reminded of where you came from, it gives you a sense of peace. And I loved the fact that, in this, there was the theme of her. She did leave. She did go. She tried to pursue the big dream. All of this had cute little nods. I love all
they have Easter eggs in
everywhere.
all of her movies.
They really do. So the Emerald Educational Trust is what she did PR for this big over the top, what was it, a media group I think he was a part of?
Yeah.
And of course, like right out the bat, every Candace Cameron Bure film has got Coco references, every single one of them. This one had multiple ones, which I loved.
Coco references.
I don't
think I picked that up.
So many Coco references. It's hilarious. It was literally one of the first ones. It also had a coffee reference in this one too, but it was very Coco based. Her dog's name was what was it, Bogle, or it had a weird Bobo. It was Bobo like Toto. I know. I thought it was too cute.
And then Riley Lyons.
Oh, so cute.
Just little nods to The Wizard of Oz.
All of it. I mean, like Jackie Crow, Scarecrow.
Love it.
And Dr. Tinsley, like the Tin Man. So this whole movie had the case of mistaken identity.
Yes.
It also had corporate America trying to crush Christmas. But the beauty in this movie was the identity was actually in the person that she was working for. And it was pretty cool because they show this idea, which I, again, as corny as it sounds, I can kind of relate to. My husband's a very private person. He is the guy who, like, if he donates anything to charity, he doesn't want anyone to know it's him. And I thought it was interesting that this was really about somebody who was trying to keep a legacy alive in his family, his dad's memory, and he was afraid of failing. And he was trying to be low key. And in some ways, it was interesting because I think right now in society, there's a big trend on nepotism not being something that is looked upon well anymore.
Right.
It's more like, do you really want to do what you want to do? You don't want to live in the shadow of something.
Totally. I can relate to that a lot. My dad's a business owner and his dream has always been to pass that on to me or my brother, and neither one of us, like, I can't do it justice. I don't want that. So I totally relate to that.
And it's hard. It's heartbreaking because the thing is,
It
all
is.
want our parents to be proud of us.
It's so heartbreaking.
It really is. And to say to your mom or your dad, like, you built this, but I want to make my own path.
Exactly.
And it's really tied in really beautiful with the Wizard of Oz theme. They even did a little tie-in of the Yellow Brick Road of them going up to reveal who.
And the ruby slippers.
Oh, I know. The shoes. Another drinking. Every Candace Cameron Bure movie so far I've watched has had a nod with shoes.
High heels.
High heels for sure. This woman has got good legs too, I have to say.
She's so... she's just really kept up with herself.
She really is.
She has to for her job, but still, like, she doesn't look overdone.
She is 1 year older than I, and the thing that I love about her is that she is somebody who is, she is unabashedly herself.
Yes.
If you know anything, here's some fun facts about Candace. Candace actually hosted On The View for 2 years, which is a very tough show. If you've ever watched it.
You're under a microscope. If you say one thing wrong, you're canceled.
Politically charged, and
Yes.
especially if you come from a religious Republican side, which that's who she is.
Yeah.
She really held her own, I think, on that show. And she also knew when to exit
Right.
because she wanted to stay true to what she loves, which is her Hallmark movies. It was Netflix and Full House. And the woman, although she is very Christian, very Republican,
Yeah.
she owns a vineyard in St. Helena. And little did I know is it's very close to one of my family members who has a little vineyard out there. And I was like, how cool is this? I'm like,
That's
I want to
so
sip
cool.
wine with her. Every movie that Chelsea and I watched, there were wine moments.
Yeah, that's another drinking game moment.
Totally.
Yeah.
When does she sip on her wine?
You sip on your wine.
You sip on your wine.
When
Totally.
Candace sips, you sip.
Totally.
See a sip, send a
Sip.
sip, or whatever that game is.
Seriously. But this movie, all in all, had so many sweet touches of her. She did Dancing with the Stars.
Yes.
She actually finished third, and I think Mark Ballas was her partner. And in this, she got to show off a little of her dancing
did.
skills, which was so sweet.
That's when she wore the red ruby slippers.
She did.
Yeah.
She did. And again, just the sweetest movie that lifted me up.
That's where I think Candace is such a great person for these movies because she plays it right.
She really does.
Yeah.
It was, to me, it was my favorite. It was definitely just something that I needed to watch. And ironically enough, I'm going to give a shout out to another podcaster, the Morbid Podcast. If you're like me and you like a good fairy tale, or you like, the movies like Labyrinth and like Muppet movies, or if you like The Wizard of Oz, they have the Secrets of the Wizard of Oz right now, which are
Really?
like The Wizard of Oz.
I know there's tons of tea, or like not tea, but little.
So much tea.
Really?
And
It's tea.
oh my God, I loved the podcast. You ladies are amazing. These two women do this podcast, and it's normally a true crime podcast, but literally the crimes that went down on the Wizard of Oz set are crazy. So I just watched that podcast, or I felt like I watched it because these
they
girls
were
are
so visual.
so visual.
Descriptive.
But I just watched it, and then when I watched this, it kind of gave me a little bit like, oh my gosh, if only people knew what hell the actors had to go through to make The Wizard of Oz happen.
I need to listen to this now.
It's so good. So check it out. It came
will.
out last week, and it's the Morbid Podcast. Shout out to you guys. It's Ash and Elena. It's my favorite podcast ever. They are
Really?
goals for podcasters.
Okay.
And by the way, they're doing one on Gucci, which I started to listen to because I'm going to be doing one on Gucci. So
Stay tuned.
So good. It's going to be so good. So anyway, other than that, we had one more we watched.
We did.
And this one was the one where, again, we love you, Candace. It wasn't our favorite.
It wasn't our favorite. And it was the one that just came out. I think
Yeah.
it was on Sunday that it premiered for this year. And I don't know. I felt like it was a little cheesy.
It was called the Christmas Contest. I think
Right.
the thing that was interesting is that, I mean, I've watched Full House, but I didn't watch the whole season of Fuller House.
I didn't ever see Fuller House.
So it's actually really sweet. I really liked the first 2 seasons, and now I'm curious because this actor, John Brotherton, who plays her love interest
Matt.
in this, Matt, yes.
In this, I think his name's Ben.
Ben,
Yeah.
it's Ben. It's Ben in this one.
Ben, Matt.
I know, right? Ben is kind of a funny guy. You know who he reminds me a little bit of?
Who?
Did you ever watch the show on Netflix, Stranger Things?
Yes, but it's been a long time. I don't think I'd know.
He reminds me of the cop that hangs out with Winona Ryder, except
Okay.
a better looking version of him. And he's got kind of a shticky comedy thing that he goes on because he's a good looking guy.
The guy from the show?
From not from well,
From this movie?
Yeah, from this movie.
Yeah.
But it's very similar to the actor that's in Stranger Things, except Ben, aka John, is a little bit better looking. Sorry, Stranger Things. But anyway, it's that kind of wise guy thing he has going on.
Yeah, he just bothered me the whole time.
There was a lot of like banter between him and Candace that there wasn't enough romance. Like the other two, I completely believed.
Me too.
I was in it.
I totally agree with you. Not a lot of romance. I felt him to be egotistical. I thought he was just, he made me cringe. I was like, no, I don't want to spoil the end for you, but at the end I was like, no, Candace, like, gosh, come on, let's move on.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that was.
I know, right? I'm going to whip that ass into shape. I know, right? I love it.
I don't know where it came from, but it came out.
But he's kind of like, I hate to say it, but he reminds me of like the baseball player, football player they hit on the ass and you're like, get it together, guy. You know, that's totally how I felt.
Well, he is
him.
a baseball player in this, and he's like, you know, those people, those man or a woman that just like live for their glory days and they don't move past it. They're just stuck in their glory days, whether it be high school, college, whatever. He's stuck in he's just, the people that are doing everything for the camera to look good is another thing that just makes me cringe, and that was his character for this.
That
really
was
the whole point of it.
I think it was more of a writing aspect because there was a really lovely moment between the two of them chemistry wise, and I was like, oh, now I get it. These two have worked together.
Yeah.
You can tell they've had a friendship. You know,
for sure.
She produced this. She asked him to be in it with her.
She like made this character for him.
There's a part where they're laying on the floor by the fireplace.
Yes, that was sweet.
And it was absolutely like, I saw their friendship.
Yeah.
I saw their connection there. And then it disappeared because then we got into like the shtickiness of it.
Yeah.
So the reason why Chelsea and I aren't going into the story of the Christmas contest is it's a contest, right? So him and her competing to win $50,000 for charity. Mm-hmm. So the synopsis of it is really out there.
It is, yeah.
There's not very many contests I'm aware of where people wear 50, like, or with 50.
I think what they were trying to base it off of, have you ever seen like the Food Network? I think it's on the Food Network, the Christmas cookie challenge, or like the challenges for the holidays. Yeah. I love, like, Austin and I will watch the Christmas cookie challenge.
Yeah.
Like,
but they did all the challenges. They just needed to do one challenge.
Yeah.
Literally, they had a trivia contest.
Yeah.
They had a carol contest. Mm-hmm. They had a cookie contest. And then they had a tree. I mean, that's a lot of contests in one movie. It is a lot of
contests. And, I don't know.
There was a lot of story.
The storyline was a little off.
It was all like, and it was a lot of storyline because they were engaged before.
Yeah.
And her dad was not alive,
right, or
divorced. I didn't remember.
Yeah,
but there was definitely.
I'm getting this one confused with the Shoe Addicts Christmas.
Yeah, this one. I think her father died, but we really didn't get into the story of it.
Yeah,
I don't remember. But the thing is that it wasn't.
I don't know if it was her father that. Yeah, maybe he did because her mom's in it. But I know that his grandma's husband passed away.
Yes, and that was actually the part of this that really stood out as a highlight for me.
Such a sweetheart.
What a great actress.
She ends up being on Candace's team
for the
Christmas cookie or the Christmas contest. And I thought it was really cute whenever they were doing their dance on the stage, and Ben kind of like peeks around and he sees his grandma having fun. He really wants his grandma to be social again. She's very isolated. She just kind of, I think he feels like she's lonely, so he is really wanting her to like make some friends and like get out there, even if that means being on Candace's contest team.
You know what I realized with this one was the reason why I like Hallmark movies and why this one didn't resonate as much is Hallmark movies are usually pretty simple.
Yeah,
you know, they're about either reconnecting to yourself, your family, having a moment where you might walk away from it because you're talking yourself out of it, and then you come back together again.
Yeah.
And that was there, but there were so many other storylines, and there was like the shticky funniness of like their careers. But the moments that played out the best were the ones that to me are just real themes of like, we all have people in our lives who've experienced loss and the holidays are tough. We've all had moments with people to where we want to reconnect, but maybe we've misunderstood each other.
Yeah.
And those were the moments that really read well for me on this.
I would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
It's not a terrible movie. Definitely check it out and see it and let us know what you think. But for sure, check out the other two. They're great.
I think the other thing that we have to give props to is that this woman, Candace Cameron, not only is she, I mean, she is like a staple actress.
She is. She's been around. She's had like a 3-decade-long career. Maybe more.
I
4
mean,
decades.
Because she acted when she was a kid.
Yeah.
She's written 4 books, and these books are all like the 2 of them that I really now want to go look for is Dancing Through Life. And then Kind is the New Classy.
Yeah.
And it like all
that
of
encompasses her.
Yeah. It's about graciousness towards others. Like she just feels like an all around good person. Candace, we want to know you. We want to sip cocoa with you.
Yeah, exactly.
We want to pick out shoes with you, I swear. And the other thing that's a really cool fun fact about this woman is how she met her husband.
Yes.
Dave Coulier, Uncle Joey, cut it out.
I love it.
He's a hockey fan.
Yeah,
and she was only a year older than I was when I graduated. So 19, she met her husband who was a hockey player. And these two have been married a long time. They have 3 beautiful kids.
1996.
Oh my gosh.
In Hollywood, that's like an eternity.
It is.
But I think he's out of the spotlight, so I think that might be why it works. I don't know.
And he lets her shine. And boy, does she shine. She's got her vineyard.
She does shine.
She even launched a QVC clothing line. And she also has faith-based products, because she's a woman of her faith.
Right.
So, I have to give mad props to her. I'm a big fan of her movies.
I'm a big fan too.
Well, you guys, me and Chelsea, we recommend these 3 movies.
For sure.
She's done 24 Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
They're not all Christmas movies.
Yeah.
But there's quite a few of them. And,
many.
they make you feel good. So check them out and let us know if you've watched any of Candace's movies. You can put whichever one you like on the bottom. Please hit the like, subscribe.
Show us a little love.
Show us some love. And Candace, we hope that you give us a follow. We love you. We'll see you guys later.